So, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast, where we enter our third season. And to commemorate us entering our third season, there's only three of us. Because Chris had his birthday at the weekend and his loving family have taken him out. So, yeah, we're on our own. But here we are.
Space of 3 years, we've practically lost two members.
I mean, Chris is hard to hear after time anyway.
Exactly.
Just
Join
really
us.
David Attenborough then as well.
Huh?
Here we are.
Here we are in the undergrowth, stalking hopefully a more reliable engine than Ferraris. We'll come on to that shortly. This week we'll be covering the Formula 1, Formula 2 and Formula 3 action as all three series returned to racing action this weekend. But obviously, being an F1 podcast primarily, we will kick things off with the Formula 1. Ben, your overview of the weekend, please.
Slightly worrying.
Nia.
We're in trouble for the team we support.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I will simply round it up with, why didn't they retire? We're obviously referring to the fact that we all like McLaren, and McLaren did terribly. 5 pit stops for Lando.
I think after the second one, they should be like when he was coming in for the third time, they should have just gone, yeah, nah.
Like, I understand you want data to help improve the car, but running last by like a minute with a car that's limping, are you really collecting any data that's that valuable?
Yeah,
He did keep up with the podium places though. He was lingering behind him for a good while.
yeah, but he was also the lap behind.
Yeah, on fresher tires as well, but we weren't, he was there.
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence there. Because I will refer to a point earlier in the weekend where Piastri tried to overtake one of the Alpha Tauris down the main straight, was in the slipstream, pulled out, and then the Alpha Tauri started pulling away again. Now, obviously, that was in a free practice session, so engine modes are not necessarily indicative of race pace, but not ideal. Then, of course, Lance Stroll got in the way, and we almost had a 3-car pile up at turn 1. But we need bigger wing mirrors.
Well,
Not that we've already got bigger wing mirrors. Yeah, so.
I also think Lance Stroll made one of the greatest moments in history of F1, and the fact that he absolutely punted Alonso on that one.
Took him all of 4 corners.
Straight off the bat.
He's like, I'm going to let him. You know, in football, it's like, let them know you're there, lads.
Yeah. Fine. This is my team,
4
Alonso.
corners.
You ain't getting nowhere.
Might have broken wrists, but have it. You know,
And Alonso's just on the radio asking who done it, and the team's like,
You're
nah.
like,
keep quiet, Alonso. Keep quiet. It's fine. It's fine. No further action necessary. Alonso, shut up. Obviously, telling him on the way in, like, that was Stroll. Don't
Stroll.
moan about it. So, no, obviously, I mean, he went on to have a stellar drive, even if George got past him there. I mean, Red Bull dominance. We kind of expected that, didn't we? Let's be honest. They've
Very much so.
picked up where they left off last season.
Until some people have seen practice and they're like, Alonso's going to get pole.
Okay, Alonso top 2 of the 3 practice sessions, blah, 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 blah. It's practice. It don't mean nothing. You know, they always save a bit in the tank. And Red Bull clearly saved a bit more than Aston Martin did. But Aston Martin were always very vocal about the fact that they were aiming for top 6.
Yeah.
which for a team that
Mental.
was 7th last year,
Yeah.
to say that they're aiming for top 6 and then to get 5th on the grid and then a podium in the race, that's a monumental leap forward.
But I think to a point last year, they were what, the 8th best team.
I mean, they were
like
They were
AlphaTauri.
quite low down.
They were pretty
struggling.
much last. There was like the Williams and the Haas were down there, and the Aston Martins were among them. So it's a hell of a turnaround. But we won't get too on board the whole Aston Martin Alonso world champion hype train yet. It's one race. We do have to like chill out. It's one race, one circuit type. Horner said it in the interviews after the race, like, because they asked him, like, oh, is this just going to be it for the season? Is it just going to be a Red Bull walk in the park? And he's like, well, it's one race, it's one type of circuit. Jeddah's a very different type of circuit. So are the following rounds at Albert Park and Baku and all sorts. So it's like, let's take a chill pill for a second on the whole it's already over sort of shenanigans. And because we saw it last year, didn't we? There was teams that dominated certain sorts of racetracks and teams that just kind of disappeared. But 38 and a half seconds ahead of the nearest non-Red Bull car for Max. That's a hefty margin. Some promising signs for Mercedes. They looked okay, but their race pace wasn't quite there. Their quali pace was better than I'd anticipated going into qualifying. But the team have also been quite vocal about the fact that they're not sure how far they can take this development route with the design and the whole zero pods.
Yeah.
I think that's the worrying thing with it. Felt like Mercedes done okay. And then I know they want to win, and obviously because they've won it God knows how many times. And you have like Toto and all coming out and saying we made a mistake and all that.
I mean, this is the time to admit it and to get it dealt with, isn't it? Because the regulations aren't changing for the next 3, well, including the rest of this one, 4 seasons. So if you're going to do something about it, the earlier you can do it, the better you're going to fare. I mean, we saw it with Red Bull last year, didn't we?
Editor's note, I meant Aston Martin.
They turned up for the first few races with their own thing and then went, you know what? We've got this other design that we've been working on. Looks quite similar to the Red Bull, but we've been working on it just as long as they have. So we're going to bring it. And they did. And it started to improve the car. And now we're seeing the next iteration of that design. And it's gone one step further. And it is now towards, I'd say Aston Martin are easily top midfield team.
Yeah.
Given their performance. Like Lance Stroll with 2 heavily damaged wrists and a broken toe got 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in
the hunt for a good position here.
Yeah.
But they're sort of in midfield no man's land, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the bridged gap.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think they've sort of joined Mercedes. I'd say that it's Red Bull, Ferrari as the top 2 when Ferrari eventually get their acts together and string a whole race together without any incidents or malfunctions. Then it's sort of Mercedes, Aston Martin, and then it's everyone else. And then it's McLaren.
Yeah.
Because McLaren can't finish a race.
It's like Formula 1.6.
Yeah. Like you've got F1, F1.25, F1.5, and F1.75.
Yeah.
So
then you have F2.
Yeah. And that's where Théo Pourchaire comes in. But no, I mean, I'll admit I'm really impressed with what Aston Martin have managed to do.
Yeah.
It also makes you think about the budget cap, though. Like, how much further can they take the car with how much they spent?
True, but they did have a lot more allocation of wind tunnel test time. And they've still got that allocation until sort of halfway through the season when the new count is updated. So
It's McLaren's game plan. They're purposely coming last. Time for next year. And
it's because they spent 18 million getting rid of Danny Rick, who's now sat in Red Bull laughing his ass off.
well, he can't drive, can he? So
I mean, would you want to drive the McLaren in the state that it's in?
it's better than not being on the grid.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost 11
I mean,
laps.
they're pretty much not on the grid anyway.
Exactly. You got 13 laps out of Oscar, and you got Lando as the only car to finish 2 laps down. That's a pretty tragic start to the season. They are literally last in the championship. So, yeah, it's, we'll say far from ideal. I mean, in terms of, what other stories are there? Like, you look through the points, and it's 2 Red Bulls, 2 Aston Martins, 2 Mercedes. Carlos is the last remaining Ferrari because engine issues. Wow. Imagine that.
Beautiful.
Charles Leclerc in Bahrain and engine issues. I'm getting flashbacks here. Then we've got Bottas in P8.
He had a very, very good drive.
Gasly had a good drive. Last on the grid to 9th. That's a
recovery drive.
That is a stellar effort. And then Albon nabbing a point in the Williams.
Also, well done to Logan as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was only like, I think it was about 8 seconds behind Albon at the end of the race, something like that.
Yeah, he
About
started well.
8.
I know it says like he was the last car to be lapped, so it just goes plus 90 seconds for Yuki and then plus 1 lap for Logan. But when on the timing tower, he was only like 8 or 9 seconds behind Albon, and that's good showing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he almost made it out of Q1. He put the exact same time as Lando.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of
qualifying was very weird. It's very strange. It just seems like if you get the tires right, you could easily get like 7th. If you get it wrong, then you're out. See you later.
Yeah, I feel like it's how you manage it through the lap as well. Because like you kept seeing purple, purple, yellow, or then like a green, purple, purple. If you don't, it's the middle sector that kills the tires in that track. But if you just don't give it all the beans in sector 1, then you've still got something left for sector 3. But I mean, that's always the way, isn't it? It's time management. You've got to make sure you get the most out of it without overdoing it. Hulkenberg having a stellar qualifying and then a shocking race.
Well, he lost his
end plate, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's doing his best impression of K-Mag from last year.
Yeah.
Then
we have Esteban.
Hulkenberg also received 15-second time penalty post-race for multiple track limits violations.
15 seconds?
Yes. He got a 5-second time penalty for the 4th occurrence, and then he got a 10-second time penalty for a 5th occurrence.
What does it say what corner it was on?
I do have the documents downloaded. Let me double check for you. Oh yeah, we'll come on to we will come on to Ocon's penalties. It doesn't say what corner it was on. No, it just says he left the track without justifiable reason.
Guessing turn 4.
It probably was. That's where everyone was going off.
And if you're on Sky now, you can watch the onboard.
Oh my god, I know. You can do what they do on F1 TV Pro. Wow.
It's scan the QR code
I want to see if I can get that to work, given that I don't actually pay for Sky. I pay for Now TV.
I tried to get it to work, but my Sky ID wasn't working.
Okay. Well, Sky sent me an email
Sky
to set
wasn't
up a Sky
working.
ID, so
Never
I need to have a
heard
look.
before.
This Sky wasn't letting me log in.
yes. Should we cover Esteban Ocon's array of penalties?
I've just seen his third
Disaster
one.
class.
This pit lane speeding, and I.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm getting onto. Let's see if Ben
Oh.
can. Ben, have you seen the document for it?
No.
Brilliant. Right. So it all kicked off when the stewards announced that they were looking at Esteban Ocon for a start procedure infringement. Now, that can be anything from personnel on the grid at incorrect times, which we saw in the junior categories, to, in this case, being out of position in the start box. So he received a 5-second time penalty. Upon coming in for his pit stop and to serve his 5-second time penalty, the mechanic started working on the car 4.6 seconds after he'd stopped instead of the 5. So he was handed a 10-second time penalty. And then about a few minutes later, it was also announced that he was under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. Now, Ben, there's an 80-kilometer-an-hour speed limit in the pit lane. How fast was Esteban Ocon going? This is to the nearest 10th of a kilometer an hour.
Oh, sorry. It's very, very close then.
That's how they measure it, is to one decimal place.
I originally thought it was going to be either something like so tiny or so major that it's hilarious. But now I feel like it's only by like 1/10 above, like 80.1.
It's 80.1 kilometers an
Yeah.
hour. And for that 0.1 kilometer an hour, he got given an additional 5-second time penalty. So overall, he had 20 seconds of penalties. And yet he got no penalty points.
He got no penalty points.
He got no penalty points.
Oh my god. What's the point in them if you're not going to use them?
Neither did Hulkenberg, to be fair. Oh, God. But it was just the fact that I loaded up the document expecting it to be like, 82, 83 kilometers, 80.1. Oh, God. That's, yeah. Unfortunate, but also not the first time that weekend that an Alpine was caught speeding in the pit lane. Earlier in the weekend, Pierre Gasly was speeding in a pit lane and he was going 80.6 kilometers an hour. That was in qualifying. So, yeah.
He was only fined.
Yeah, it's just a team
fined 100 euro.
Yeah. But still, that's 100 euros they can't spend on the car now.
That's good, yeah.
Do you only get penalty points for causing a collision? Is that it?
Maybe. I think there are other things, but
I guess it kind of makes sense. Is like if you mess up someone else's race, you get punished even more. I guess.
do you get points for impeding in qualifying? No, you just get a grid drop, don't you? No, you might get a penalty.
Yeah, but
you
you
might get
should
like
get-
one penalty point or something.
Yeah.
But no, it depends. The penalty point system is really weird and really inconsistent in terms of they say it's for people's safety and to punish bad driving, and yet it doesn't seem to actually punish all aspects of bad driving and lets other aspects of it go completely scot-free anyway. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Have we got any other funny news from the weekend?
I've just Googled it, and according to WTF1, penalty points are handed to drivers if they do something the FIA considers to be dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think going 0.1 over the speed limit is very dangerous.
Oh yeah. Five penalty points there.
Yeah, but if you were to do like with UK driving, when you get a speeding ticket going 33 mile an hour, that could be the difference between a kid living and dying. Because doing 30 is fine.
It's not in an active pit lane. No, I'm joking. I don't know, like it's a weird one, but like at the same time, those things are so marginal.
Mm.
Like if you go 33 and you get caught speeding, you'll probably go to like a speed awareness course and you won't actually get the points on your license, will you? So
Whereas you can do either, can't you? Either get the points or you go on the speed awareness, is it?
yeah.
That's what they
Yeah.
should do. They should send the drivers
To speed awareness course.
Yeah.
Here is the pit lane speed awareness course.
Why should you do the pit speed limit?
Right. I mean, we've covered all of the sort of the topics here, haven't we? Lance Stroll actually drove.
Yeah, give him credit.
I'll
He
give
done
him
well.
credit, but at the same time, there were reports coming up that he couldn't actually extricate himself from the car within
Yeah.
the required time of the FIA's safety test.
I mean,
Which, if those rumors are true, he should not have been allowed to race, but
Absolutely.
he was allowed to race. So
most likely would true then.
yeah, but yeah, we'll see. As with most things on the internet, if you can't find a credible source, discount it. Safest way.
But it could have been that, like,
Maybe it was like
in,
earlier
like,
on and he failed it once, but then he was able to do it at a later
or-
date.
like he could do it, but at that point, because he was just easing himself out of the car, it was just like easier to get the mechanics to help him rather than push himself further and damage the times more.
I mean,
It
he
could have been
did.
that case.
He did admit after the race that he was hurting.
Yeah, I saw at some point he said he was like crying in the car.
Yeah, after he
Probably
punted
because-
Alonso.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he was like
Because he
crying in
went
the car.
from full right to complete opposite lock to then continue to
Yeah.
turn the corner. And when because he's got pins in his wrists, that's
Mm.
what it is. Like you saw him in practice, instead of bringing your hand all the way over, he was taking his hand off the wheel and pushing it round, so he didn't have to put that extra through the wrist. And at that point, I was kind of questioning, should he be in the car? But fair play, he said he was just saving himself, and he didn't do it in quali. And I mean, I didn't see him all through the race, but I'd imagine he probably might have done it towards the end a bit when he's not really fighting anyone too closely. I mean, he had George for company at the end a bit, so maybe he started wrestling the car again there. But you take breathers when you can, don't you?
Yeah.
So full credit to him. I mean, we all know we're not like massive Lance Stroll fans, but also that's a pretty Herculean effort.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I would say we're all huge Stroll fans and we love him in the paddock and wouldn't want anyone else in that car.
That was catch. Oh, that's a really nasty
It's
cough.
just a shame that you'll see the difference between Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll this year.
In strategy.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts.
That's where Stroll goes on like a 18 win streak. Like, oh no.
Stroll, World Drivers' Champion.
No.
Also, we have to cover this. Hang on. How many years does it go back? The classic Formula One curse. The first round curse. Now,
I want to say they said since 2017.
For those who don't know, the driver that has won the first round for, when was it? 2022, Charles Leclerc won the first round. Didn't win the World Drivers' Championship. 2021, Lewis Hamilton wins the first round. Doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship. 2020, Valtteri Bottas doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship, but won the first round. 2019, Valtteri Bottas won the first round, doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship. 2018, Sebastian Vettel won the first round, doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship. 2017, Sebastian Vettel wins the first round, doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship. 2016 is the last time somebody won the first round and won the World Drivers' Championship. And that was everybody's favorite, beat him in equal machinery, Nico Rosberg. Who's back in the bloody paddock.
Yeah.
Hooray. I don't know. I think Rosberg's just a bit of a wind-up merchant, to be honest. I don't really
Yeah,
see his
he
value.
said, I remember a thing, I can't remember what he said, but it was towards the start of the race, and it was straight up a conspiracy. Straight away, I was like, oh, he's back.
It's like
back.
when was it Lando and Pierre were at the Sky Pad, and he was just like, "Oh, you called him a so and so over the team radio," and he just went, Lando just went, "Yeah, you probably called other people that on the team radio in the heat of the moment as well. What to it? I don't actually think that. I'm just annoyed, you know." And it's just like, why are you trying to make? Why is Nico the Drive to Survive producer of the Sky roster? You know,
So
he is the drama person.
He loves it.
But yeah, well, he's back. But that's
Yeah.
so. Anyway, first round curse. Is this the year we break that duck?
It should be.
2017,
yeah.
18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. 6 years on the bounce that we've had.
Yeah, it's there to be broken.
But how many years did it happen before 2016? Or did it happen before 2016?
Don't know. I just closed the tab. Hang on. 2015, Lewis Hamilton. 2014, Nico didn't win. Nico won first, but obviously didn't win. 2013, Kimi Räikkönen. 2012, Jenson Button. 2011 was Seb. He won. 2010 was Nando. He obviously didn't win. 2009, Jenson. Hey. There's a lot of Jenson Buttons on this first half of the season. Good Lord. Australia, Button. Malaysia, Button. China, Vettel. Bahrain, Button. Spain, Button. Monaco, Button. Turkey, Button.
6 out of 7 races.
2008, Hamilton won. 2007, Raikkonen won. 2006, Alonso won. 2005, Fisichella won.
I was going to say that there's about to be a streak then of drivers who
that actually won it, yeah.
Won the
but then Fisichella, hang on, here we go. 2004, Schumacher. 2000.
Yeah,
Oh wait, no, 2003, Coulthard.
Wow.
2002, Schumacher. 2001, Schumacher. 2000, Schumacher. 99, Eddie Irvine. 98, sorry, McLaren's Mika Hakkinen. 97 was Coulthard. 96 was Damon Hill. He won that year. 95 was Schumacher in his Benetton. 94 was Schumacher in the Benetton. So, you know, it's very mixed. It's not that we've not had a run of like 6 consecutive years for a while. Last 30 years, it looks like.
I feel Max is the firm favorite with ease. I feel like the only person that could beat him is Perez.
But they're never going to let that happen.
I can't see that.
Given that, like, Red Bull want him to be like the prodigal son, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're obviously eyeing up the elite club of winning 3 championships back to back. Because I think there's only 4 drivers in it, and he'd be the 5th, or is there 5 drivers in it, and he'd be? I think it's 4. Because it's something like Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Fangio.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else won 3 back to back. Because Fangio won 4, didn't he?
Same as Seb.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fangio, Schumacher, and Seb and Hamilton.
They're the 4, so he would be the 5th, right? That's what they're going for.
Yeah.
Damn, I got my stats right. Hey. That's obviously what they're eyeing up here. And they're in the prime position to do it.
Yeah.
So I'd fully expect them to go for it. I think the only thing that can stop them now is themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they don't have any of the reliability issues that they had early last season. To be fair, they ironed most of those out over the course of the year. But like just no tactical mistakes, no silly errors, avoiding collisions, having clean races. You know, because that was where Max lost points last year, wasn't it? Where he got caught up in something, where he was starting out of position and then had to come through. I mean, then again, at Spa, he started like 13th and still won the race. So, you know. But yeah,
how many laps did it? It took him like 4 laps or something stupid, didn't it?
Yeah, it was
like get up to the podium or something.
Yeah,
it was wild.
0% AI.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's clearly advantage Red Bull. That's very, very much a given. I'll say I'm disappointed in Ferrari by virtue of the fact that they had another reliability issue, but I can't really pin that on Fred because he hasn't really been there long enough to oversee any sort of like major changes or alter any decisions from the last management.
But Charles is probably going to have to take a engine penalty soon already, because they had to swap out whatever went wrong.
That was the energy
already.
store.
Yeah.
So that was before the race, sorry. I don't know what went wrong in the race.
They swapped up the energy store out because the first one was already faulty or whatever.
Yeah.
They put the second one in, and yeah, you're only allowed 2 of them.
Yeah.
So he's already used 2.
A 23 race season and you're on your second of 2. I mean, if they can fix the other one, then that's fine.
Yeah. I have a feeling that is what went wrong, but don't quote me.
Yeah, Ted Kravitz was talking about it on the pre-race thing. The mechanics turned up and plugged it in, expecting it to be like half depleted because it had been sat there all night and it was still reading 100%. So they were like, yeah, this isn't right. We're going to take it out. Which is fair enough, you know. You leave your phone out overnight, not plugged in, and you're kind of expecting it to be half dead when you wake up in the morning. No, 100%. It's all fine. So yeah, we'll wait and see what engine components get swapped out. That'll obviously be in like Chris's favorite steward documents at some stage. But as of right now, we don't know because they don't need to tell us at this stage. Does mean he can take a free gearbox, I think, doesn't it? Because it's like, actually no, because they changed it. It's you have a quantity of gearboxes. It's no longer you have to run 6 consecutive races with the same gearbox. So, oh well, never mind. Old rules are old rules. Shall we cover our predictions?
Yes.
Right. Where do you want to start? Bold?
Yeah.
Sure.
Ben, Joe, P10 or higher. I hate to break it to you. Joe finished? Joe finished P16.
Nice.
So you got no points there. Chris said Pierre Gasly would get no penalty points. He was correct. So he has 1 point in the bold predictions. Nia, you said both Alfa Romeos in the points. No. But you also said with 3 yellow flags or less. Now, I only counted 2 in the race.
I only counted 2.
Which was the first lap piece of debris from Nico Hulkenberg's front wing and the yellow flag VSC for Charles.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Ben,
That's all I got.
You agreeing on that consensus?
I wasn't watching yellow flag radar.
Fair enough.
I only realised after Charles DNS, I was like, oh, yellow flag.
And then went, no, wait, not too many of these. So you get a half point for that. And I said Drugovich P7 or higher. So that went really well. The temptation to try and like, but the car he would have been in finished P6. No, I know.
You said Drugovich.
I know, I said Drugovich. I was pinning all my hopes on him being in the car, basically. But, you know, you win some, you lose some. Lap down showdown. I was the closest this week. Nobody got the driver right. The full result was that the first driver to be lapped was actually Nico Hulkenberg, which surprised me because I thought it was going to be Lando.
I thought you were going to say Lando.
It was funny because it was right in the pits as well.
So
you literally seen Verstappen going past him.
So that was the start of lap 28, and Hulkenberg finished 1 lap down. I said lap 27 and 1 lap down. So I win, quote unquote, but it's not a not a full sweep.
That's what you're gonna say, but it's not a competition. I was like, yes, it is.
It's not a competition, but
Yeah,
I won
yeah, it
this
is.
week.
This is definitely a competition.
It's a taking
Um,
part that counts. But just so you know, I won this week.
So some social media predictions we had. Obviously, we had Tays at the time of recording last week. We also got one from a fellow streamer Vox. We've got a couple more on the Discord as well from KR45 and Ash Mason. Vox got last place with 2 points, correctly predicting that Perez and Alonso would be on the podium, but putting both of them 1 place too high.
Oh,
So I'm kind of impressed that for someone that doesn't really watch F1 that much anymore, putting Alonso on the podium, quite an inspired shout. In joint second place is Tay and Ash Mason, both on 7 points. Both for yeah, I did that number wrong. There we go. Both on 7 points, both for correctly predicting a Verstappen pole and a Verstappen Perez 1-2. Both of them put Leclerc third, which did not happen. And KR45 took us all to school this week. The only thing they got wrong was pole position, which they said was Perez, but it was actually a completely correct podium of Verstappen, Perez, Alonso. So yeah, full house of 15 points, but not the bonus for pole. Bravo.
Fame Chris for that.
Yeah. In terms of our competition, in joint second. Yeah, I know. We're really tightly knit at this early stage of the season. In joint second is Nia and Sonia on 4 points for correctly predicting a Verstappen pole and Verstappen victory. And in joint first is Ben, Chris, and myself for all predicting a Verstappen pole and Verstappen on P1, and all incorrectly putting Perez in third. So nice.
We're on 5 points.
We're on 5. We are 1 point ahead of Nia and Sonia. Obviously,
that counts, Nia.
Yeah,
I am winning.
We are winning. We'll do predictions for Saudi Arabia next week. That rounds up our Formula One content for this week. Move on to Formula 2 now, where Théo Pourchaire seems to have kicked things off in quite a dramatic fashion. He dominated when he was
what he needs.
Yeah.
Going into the season, all the pressure's on him for him to win it.
I mean, after coming second last year, he is expected to perform.
Yeah.
And I mean, by Jove.
I feel like he's going to be, I know he's obviously pushing himself a lot, but I feel like he's going to be pushing himself more because he said he didn't think he was going to be racing this season. So the fact is, he's going to like proper.
He's got that motivation to show everyone what he's capable of.
He's want to proper prove himself to try and get. He is Alfa Romeo's reserve driver.
Technically, Sauber. It's the Sauber Driver Academy is the title of it because the Alfa Romeo is only for the F1 team.
Yeah, but he is their reserve driver.
Yes.
So like he wants. I'm guessing he wants to try and get him more than that, like actual F1 seat.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
But I mean, in terms of stamping authority, putting down the biggest gap to second place in qualifying in the history of F2, I should say modern F2. That was what was specified because when it changed from GP2 to F2, they sort of reset all the records. So since it's become Formula 2, that is the biggest gap between first and second in qualifying. At thousandths of a second over 3/4 of a second.
So in 5 years,
that is the biggest gap.
Yeah.
0.751 of a second. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like I know in Formula 1 we get those sorts of gaps all the time, but Formula 1 isn't Formula 2. Formula 2 is a spec series. The cars are the same. and he's just pulled out 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, it's wild.
And they're all like, oh yeah, it's Formula 2 is really close. In fairness, less than 1.7 seconds covered all 22 drivers. But like 3/4 of a second from first to second is huge. Literally unheard of. He then managed to, in the sprint race, obviously, because he's on first, a reverse grid gets dropped down. Still managed to get up to 5th.
He was P3 at some points as well, I think.
Yeah, he the tires sort of went away from him at the end. He got pushed quite hard. But I mean, Ralph Boschung just sort of took it from the get-go. I think Boschung got quite lucky in that, just by virtue of the fact of everyone behind him ended up fighting, and that just let him get away. And it ended up being like it was Iwasa that was sort of second place, and then like fending for his life.
I feel like between second and 6th, they were all fighting practically the entire time I was watching.
It was a really good scrap.
It mixed the entire time.
I should say Dennis Hauger had a good drive.
Yeah.
He got up to second. I think he started 8th, something like that.
He kind of.
He finished 4th. This is top 10 that get swapped. So he was
top 10. I thought it was top 8.
No, I don't know. He started lower down. Maybe he started at 6th. He started 6th. He got up to second. It's top 10. It's top 12 in Formula 3 that get flipped. But I mean, Boschung, you got to give him his moment. 96th race start, first race win. Fair play.
I was really surprised when I heard that, because I was like, I swear he's like had a win at some point. Evidently not.
He's had podiums. He's just never stood on the top step. And then also fair play to him. He followed it up with a second place finish in the feature race. So he's leading the Drivers' Championship.
He's second.
Is he? Oh, he is. Porsche's got the fastest lap and the pole points. I think he got fastest lap.
Yeah.
There's 4 points in it.
But still, he's second. I do want to mention in the feature race, though, Zane Maloney, because he finished 3rd.
Yeah.
He started 18th.
Wow.
That's a hell of a drive. And I think it was about 4 laps to go. He was like, can I catch the guy in front? And the team's like, yes, go. You can do this. Maximum push. Because he'd taken the gap down from over the last few laps. He'd taken the gap down from 8 seconds to 2.5. And it's like, there's 4 more laps. And the team's like, go, just get him. Screw everything else. Just drive. So fair play. And I mean, he finished 7 seconds clear of Kushmani in the end. So, I mean, that shows you how much pace he had in that car. Or just like the state of his tyres. I'm not really sure which strategy everyone was on, because it's not shown on the timing screen. So I can't say for certain. But it was, I'd say that was quite a good round in terms of the whole weekend of Formula 2. There's plenty of action going on. A bit of scrapping here and there, but like nothing disastrously, like someone got punted off and taken out of contention of everything.
It was all relatively clean for what I saw.
Yeah, there was a couple of bumps and spins here and there, but I
think it was Leclerc just had locked up or something and just went
turn 10.
Yeah,
he did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
There was a couple of spins. I think it was Richard Verschoor got spun around at turn 4.
There was a bit.
Still managed to recover to 5th. So
there was an incident in the feature race involving like Vesti. I don't know. They don't show the DNFs on the.
I know, that's so annoying, isn't it?
It was like
it's like Vesti, a feature race, and it's 18 finishes. Brilliant. Where are the other 4?
I don't know who the other ones are. Vesti was one of them. I know that, but Cordial was involved, I think.
Wouldn't surprise me. By virtue of the fact I don't.
You
No, he
sure?
finished 15th, so for sure got spun
Yeah.
at turn 4.
Victor Martin? Was he involved? I think Martin was involved as well. Or Martins, I don't know.
So, but yeah,
Panic,
I mean,
Well, are you
think.
on about the feature?
Mm.
There was Hauger retired, Victor Martins, Vesti, and Stanek had to stop.
Got 3 of them.
was it 2 or 3? Oh, that was F3. No, I watched through some of the highlights earlier. And the exit curb on the outside of turn 8, the really slow corner. Someone drove too far over the exit curb, and their rear suspension just went. Oh, not good. So, I think that was Formula 3.
I think it was Formula 3, yeah. I don't remember seeing anything like that.
So, but I mean, yeah, overall, great weekend of Formula 2 action with Porsche pretty much stamping his authority on it. Like pole position, feature race win. Nice.
I feel like it's probably going to be between like Porsche and Boschong.
Well, we'll see because it's
like depending on how the cars go, but I feel like
because Campos aren't really used to that.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. Depending on how it goes, if there was to be one, I feel like those two would be the main contenders for it.
At this early stage, I wouldn't rule out Zane Maloney.
Good point, yeah.
Because he had a really strong end of season last year.
I feel like Owasa maybe as well.
Yeah, you can't really rule out anyone that's got Red Bull backing because they tend to be quite rapid.
Yeah.
But also, you never really want to rule out Prema. So I know they didn't have the greatest of weekends this weekend, but they're still not. They're a winning outfit.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. But yeah, we'll see. Obviously, it's early days. I know it's a shorter season than Formula One, so the races percentage-wise matter more, just because there's less opportunities to pick up points. But yeah, it's looking good for Porsche.
I want him to win. He's been my favourite driver since he got pole in Monaco.
Fair.
I want him to win.
Formula 3. A somewhat scrappier weekend in the second support series with Formula 1 this weekend. I think the best bit of it, in terms of the just sort of seeing how scrappy it was the opening lap of the feature race. We had people going forced off the inside of turn 3, which is like, what are you doing over there? So no, it was a great watch because there were fights all over the field, and there was a couple of safety cars, and you have to feel for Gabriele Mini. He got given a 5-second time penalty for being out of position in his start box. Words we've heard before this weekend already, but this was actually before the F1 race, so he set the trend. But he'd managed to pull out a gap, and then the safety car got deployed with like 2 laps to go, which is kind of crushing. So he dropped from 1st to 8th with that 5-second time penalty. Which, I mean, you put in all the hard work, you make the overtake for the lead, you pull a gap, and then something out of your control takes you from first to eighth, from 25 points to 4.
Yeah.
That's an ouch. So, yeah. You know who had a really good weekend? Fernando Alonso. He's got his own little like driver academy sort of agency thing where he looks after younger drivers.
Management.
Yeah.
Thing.
Like it's kind of like what Mark Webber does with Piastri, but
yeah,
with more drivers. The winner of the sprint race, Marty, is part of A14, which is what Alonso has called his management. And the winner of the sprint race, Gabriel Bortoleto, is also under A14. So Alonso's had a great weekend.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean...
The only thing I know that happened in Formula 3, didn't Paul Allen get a penalty for something?
Haven't seen that.
Post-race.
Haven't seen that. Let's have a look.
Oh, there's a whole thing. Secure post-race feature. Paul Allen handed a 5-second penalty, penalised for causing an avoidable collision with teammate Zach O'Sullivan, turn 11. Penalty drops him behind O'Sullivan, P12. Oliver Gray been handed a 5-second penalty for track limits violations, puts him in 21st. Tommy Smith received 2 separate penalties. Involved in 2 incidents resulting in contact, and he retired.
There's a lot of offence documents on the FIA website for Formula 3.
For Tommy Smith, first incident, he was handed a 3-place grid penalty for Melbourne. The second incident, he was assigned a 10-second time penalty that would be converted to a 3-place grid 3-place grid drop for the Melbourne sprint.
Nia and going hair, name a more iconic combo.
Hair. I can't talk.
If I speak.
If I speak.
It doesn't help that I'm tired and my braces have made my 2 front teeth have a gap in them, and that's not helping my speech.
Shame. I have no sympathy for you. I had braces twice.
I don't have to wear elastics in a day anymore. That's the only good thing.
Hooray! No more.
I wear them at night.
Oh, damn it.
There's quite a trick though, isn't it? You go
spit them out at someone.
Yeah.
Take their eye out.
A shitty slingshot.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Summons, no. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34 offence documents over the course of the whole weekend in Formula 3. That's a lot. But I mean, that's everything from alleged contact to causing a collision to pit lane speeding, exceeded track limits, not following race directors' notes, all that sort of shenanigans. Yeah. Here's what it is. One I haven't seen before is front tires outside of the line during start procedure. Is that should just say like out of position?
Yeah, too far forward.
Out of position in grid box. But it's like, no, we're going to be more specific. It's the front ones that were the issue.
They need to know. Yeah,
there you go. So, when does Formula 3 return? Formula 3 returns in Melbourne. Formula 2 is in Jeddah, as is Formula 1. So we've got a bit of a break now.
Do you know Formula 3 has testing in Barcelona 30th to the 14th of April.
13th, 14th. So after Melbourne.
Can I read? I can't read apparently. Yeah, after Melbourne.
Interesting.
I need sleep.
So, in terms of the Formula 3 standings, Bortoletto is leading the way. It's 26 points for his race win, with Ollie Goethe in second and Dino Beganovic in third. Goethe's on 23 points and Beganovic is on 22. So, nice and close in the Formula 3. But again, one round. But equally, Formula 3 has even less rounds than Formula 2. So the points are, percentage-wise, even more valuable.
And they have like 40 drivers or whatever.
Yeah, 30 drivers on the grid. And they're going to Monaco this year.
Oh no,
Oh, nice.
Flacco went to Monaco and they had about the same.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. I mean, they're obviously going to split qualifying, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
Formula 2 had to split qualifying that one year.
Yeah. They've only got 2 more cars than Formula 1.
Mm.
But I suppose their session runs differently to Formula 1's, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And it's just safer for them.
So, but yeah, we will bring you all of our pre-Jeddah coverage next week, along with Drive to Survive chat.
I'm on episode 3 still.
Yeah, I'm on episode, but I've watched 5 and 6, so
I've watched all of it now.
I can watch it
So-
on the easy.
It doesn't take
on
long, to be
episode
fair.
3. I need to start episode 3.
Okay, well, that'll probably be the easiest thing to do next week because
Mm.
then it's out of the way, you know.
Or we just don't.
But it's something to talk about at least.
Mm.
It'll
I
mean
do.
that the episode next week's slightly more than 20 minutes of just predictions.
Oh, we'll just use that 3-minute one again. It's fine.
I do want to throw a band hammer this year on just talking about F2 and F3 in episodes.
Yeah. We're gonna try and do it in the episode where we do the Formula 1 stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push for it. So it's all fresh, it's all recent. And except for the mid-season and end-season roundups.
Yeah.
Where because
Big
like the F3 one is after Monza, and then the F2 one is just the week after the F1 roundup at the end of the season,
Mm.
where we've run out of content anyway. So we might as well give it its own episode.
Yeah.
And
usually, even if we delay it, like the race ones by an episode, we don't watch them even then. So
I mean, I watched the highlights.
yeah.
if I missed the race, I watched the highlights because I was at tennis, so I didn't see most of the F1 race. I'll be honest with you. I had it on the speaker, so I was listening, but I wasn't watching it. Hashtag professional journalist. So, I mean, I heard Lando Norris is coming in for a pit stop far too many times for it to be anything but bad news. So
He was trying his best Jensen and Canada impression.
yeah.
Apart from not taking out his teammate.
Apart from it wasn't in Canada, it wasn't raining.
Mixed, and he didn't have the best car on the grid.
Yeah. So apart from all of those,
Yeah,
it was a great impression.
Factors, it was really good.
And he didn't come into the pits for a penalty either. So
Right.
no front wing
Ocon.
changes.
Ocon maybe is he a better choice?
We'll see. But anyway, that'll do us for this week before we go too far down the Jensen Button rabbit hole of Ben. We'll see you at the same time.
Episode just on Jensen.
Got the Jensen Button special. If we get him on, if you can make it happen.
Knowing Chris, he will find a way to put Jensen Button as the Jensen Button
I
special.
would not allow that.
Yeah.
He did it in the Seb one.
I know.
sense of humor.
God. Anyway, we will see you at the same time next
Yeah.
week for
Just
all
let
of
it
our.
happen as well. It took me like 20 minutes to bring it up. Just letting it happen.
I just, I was sort of
It's
in
awful.
shock that it was happening.
By
To be
all
honest
of
with you,
us.
I was like, "Is this really how he's going to go about this?" So
I thought it'd stop, and then he just
no, it
kept
just
going.
it just
Kept
didn't.
going.
So
Kept
I was
going.
like, I'm gonna have to stop this.
Bloody Lewis Hamilton fans, am I right? Anyway,
It's not going to.
anyway, we'll see you at the same time next week for our pre-Jeddah coverage. So until then, thank you for listening and watching, and goodbye.